Hey guys, welcome to Raw Talks. I hope you guys are having a great day. I'm so excited for this episode. Today, I get to talk with my great friend Tim Salau. If you guys don't know Tim, Tim is known as Mr. Future of Work, and he's also the CEO and founder of Guide. And today I get to talk to Tim because he's worked with so many successful companies. He's worked for Facebook, Microsoft, LinkedIn, and Google, and he's learned so much from those jobs. And one thing he's always been consistent in is finding his purpose and also his mission, no matter what his job is, no matter what his career is. And I believe that for us, I believe that we can find our mission, we can find a purpose in no matter what we do. So today I sit with Tim and he explains how we can do that. So sit back, enjoy these episodes. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you soon. Hey guys, welcome to Raw Talks. My name is David Mac Jones. I'm so excited to have you guys here in this new episode. Today, I'm going to be talking to a really good friend of mine, Tim Salau. Hey man, how you doing today, Tim?
Doing well, David. Appreciate you for bringing me on, my brother.
Yeah, bro. And bro, I'm so excited to talk to you. You know, you're AKA the CEO of Guide, Mr. Future of Work, and you're like really one of like really close friend of mine that I just love the way you work. You're zero like focused on what you're building, your mission. And I feel like so many people can learn how to find, purpose in their careers through you because you've maneuvered so many different situations and scenarios, bro. So before we get into it, I just want you to, just give a brief bio about yourself, your background, so people can learn more about you. Then we'll dive in, bro.
Yeah. My name is Tim Salau, CEO of Guide, aka a lot of people refer to me as Mr. Future of Work because I talk about it so much.
Yeah.
And I'm building something to address the movement around the future of work. And I've been championing the future of work for years now, but more importantly, I personally see myself as a Nigerian African-American activist that believes in the power of technology and how software can change the world. And, with Guide, we're building the bite-sized skills training platform for enterprise remote teams to be able to upskill and train their workforce.
That's awesome, bro. Thanks. I'm excited about Guide, and we've talked about it. You tell me all the journeys, and we're going to talk about it a little later today too as well. And just like the different maneuvers you've made, the different changes like a CEO has to figure out. I think so many people can learn from that. But bro, I feel like right now with COVID-19 happening, so many people are out of work, so many people are in work, but people are like thinking about their jobs, their careers, like, okay, is this it? Like maybe I might need to do a change. And I wanted to talk to you about this because you're one of the few people that I know has like, I want to say figured this out, but lives his life so purposefully. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, man, like, how can people find purpose in their work, the work that they do? And I know one of the things you like to say is purpose over paychecks.
Yeah,
so how
man.
do people find that purpose, bro?
Yeah, man. No, you bring up a great point, Dave, because I think a lot of people are really pessimistic right now. People are sad due to the current situation and current climate of things. And I think we have to remember that purpose isn't something that just comes to us. It's push and pull. And for me, my belief is that you have to run towards your purpose. Personally, we've been doing that with the work that we've been doing with Guide. And as an individual, I've been doing that in terms of my personal mission statement. And I developed my personal purpose and mission statement when I was in university. And that was essentially to strengthen the bonds that people share through compassionate action. And I've used that as a filter and as a driving mechanism for me to pursue the work that I'm passionate about. So I think one is having people declare that to themselves what that is. And that requires deep introspection, asking yourself, what is something that you personally and vehemently believe in that will drive all of the decisions that you make throughout the course of your life? That's a powerful thing to think about. And then from there, realize that you have to push towards what you want your purpose to look like. And whatever it is that you're molding your destiny to be, there's people who believe that life happens to them. And there's people who believe that they create the life that they want and they can design it.
Yeah,
I am the latter, not the former. So when things like COVID-19 happened to me personally, I'm grateful that we're well in our business, and I am personally well because I can adapt and I understand that, oh, there's opportunities, there's possibilities, everywhere that happens, even when there's market shifts and crisis such as a COVID.
Yeah. You have that perspective to see beyond the situation and to
Yeah.
focus more on the opportunity that can arise through that. And I think that's really like interesting because like one thing that I've been like looking at is like, yes, so many people have lost their jobs, but
Yeah.
it's like, who are the companies that are hiring? Right? Like for real, right? Like there's so many like industries that are dying, but there's so many industries that are booming. So
Booming.
it's like, how can you I've been talking to some of my friends, like, how can you transfer your skills to that industry? Like, what are some things that you can do as an entrepreneur to make yourself more accessible? We've talked about this, like, if you're an entrepreneur and your goods and your product cannot be accessed online or digitally or some shape or form, you're in trouble. Like, you're in trouble. Like, you can't just be a brick and mortar. That's it. Like, you have to, create a space where people can reach out to you more accessibly. And
Yeah.
and bro, like I love what you said about like finding how finding your purpose. But like if I were to ask you if you give us like a little deep dive about you, like what were the little like pivotal moments in your life, in your career that helped you like figure out what your purpose was, especially in work, right? Because I think sometimes like we can look at our job as our career, like you said, like it happening to us, instead of like taking the reins on and saying like, no, I want to be defined by this. Like, this is what I'm going to accomplish with my career. This is what people are going to know me for, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I'm going to be about. Like, so how did you discover yourself, and what like maybe jobs, what positions, what companies did you find maybe some of those interactions or some of those moments in your life?
Yeah, one of the moments that was really a defining pivot point, I think, in my personal career in life was my first job out of grad school was working with one of the best companies in the world in Microsoft, which is a great company, amazing culture. But, I ended up joining a team where my boss didn't really care enough about my career to really actually coach me.
Wow.
And one day I go into his office and I tell him, I'm not happy on this team. I don't think this team is a cultural fit for me because people don't really care about culture at all on this team. It's more so we get the job done and we move on. And there is no team camaraderie. There is no culture. There is no fulfillment at all.
Yeah.
And, he looks me in my eyes and he says, it's not my job to develop you. It's not my job to grow you. And that was a big shocker to me because, if you're a people leader, if you're building a team, if you're in any leadership role, that is your responsibility. That's why you exist within an organization.
Exactly.
And for me, what it caused me to realize, because I was already proactive about my career, I was a rock star on the team. People loved me and, I was a good teammate. But it caused me to realize, you know what? I don't deserve to be in a team or in any culture like that doesn't encourage and nurture my value, or where my own boss doesn't feel as if they deserve to grow me. And there were options for me to maybe move laterally within the organization, but I decided not to, just because I realized that my time spent long term would be better set on finding the opportunities, being proactive and saying, okay, what's next, versus like sitting static and waiting for things to happen to me. And around that same time, actually, too, I started Guy. We started Guy. We started our company. So I think what that moment really caused me to do is that whenever you are pushed with adversity, or you're pushed in this very unfavorable circumstance where you don't feel a sense of fulfillment, always choose why. Like, why do I always choose, like, how do I create value and how do I know what my strengths are and what my core purpose is? Because that will always like propel you into a bigger opportunity, a bigger state. And, I look at that moment as one of the very key moments that define me, to really where we're at now with our company and even where I'm at as a leader.
Yeah. No, bro, like that's amazing. And I think me just knowing you as a friend.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add to that. Like, I was around that time where you were trying to make that change. And one thing I really admire about you was you were able to, like, you already knew your worth, your value, and like, and I want you to touch on this because we talked about this, is like sometimes especially of people of color, we look at these big companies, you know, and we're like, man, we'll take whatever offer, whatever climate, whatever situation. But how do we become self-aware about our value that we bring? Like, it's not just a one-way conversation. Like, you having that conversation with, you know, with your boss, and he's like, it's not my responsibility. And instead of us saying like, you know what, I'm going to move myself to a better company that has a better culture that will cultivate me, or I will just create my own, right? Like, how do we like have that sense, that self-awareness to be like, I deserve better. I deserve more than just this.
Yeah, I think it's understanding, one, you mentioned it, your worth, but also looking at your life from an objective lens. If you want your life to be defined by your circumstance and the fact that you're like you're just supposed to be settled, then that's not the type of life you want to live. Even after I left Microsoft and worked with WeWork as their chief evangelist, I was in there, and you know, for me, even I faced microaggressions as a person of color, and I faced adversity, and I saw another bad culture, and you know that, and then as you could, and as you know, everyone knows, WeWork is crumbling now as a business, and you know, it's not the same company as used. But then I left before they started crumbling, but none of those experiences define who I am. Right? They were more so learning opportunities for me, and have allowed me to say, okay, I know the type of organization, the type of leader I never want to be, because I've seen bad leaders.
Exactly.
I also know the type of organization that I want to build as a leader and as an executive. And, you know, one of the biggest things that I've noticed in people who lead life and succeed are people who take an objective lens and understand, as you mentioned, what their value is, but also they really don't let life happen to them. They're molding life. Like they're always proactive. Like, what's next? They're proactive, and there's a different mindset in that, man. And I would love for you to share, you know, who comes to mind when you think about that. But like people who are like, what's next? Like, okay, that didn't work. Like the amount of times you probably heard no, I've heard no, are probably the same. People tell me no. People try to make me feel as if I should be disappointed in something because it didn't work out every other day. Okay, what's next?
Exactly.
Like literally, and I think it goes to what I like to prepare as a day one mindset. It's day one. What's next?
Let's keep it moving.
Let's keep it moving, because I'm not like, this is not going to define me if we were to die today. Especially as we know, life is fragile. Like, what's next? What can we do next? What's the opportunity?
No, I completely agree with you. You know, like, and I have, you know, like a saying to myself, like, you know, rejection is not just no, it's not just, you know, this is it. Rejection is redirection, right?
That's
so
fire,
like
bro.
when I encounter rejection, I'm like, okay, what is, like you're saying, what is next? What is the other path? What is the other sources? Where else can I, you know, like lean in or like check in, and when it comes to even like career minded, I'm like, okay, I got to know from this company, like what other skills can I add to myself? And what other company would better utilize me or can see that value in me, you know? And a lot of that is, you know, me seeing you, like I learned a lot from you about like valuing myself in my career, like not just settling for the status quo, but going and trying to find a good match, you know? With a place that would actually see the best in you and wants to invest in you, you know? Which is where I'm at right now. And I'm just like, there's so much, number one, there's so many good companies out there who want to invest in the right people, and they have good leaders. And there's so many good companies that have horrible leaders, you know, who don't want to invest in seeing other people go, whether it's they're insecure about you going better than them or your personality or whatever. But I think in this day and age, there's so much opportunity for everybody. You can't just settle in one place. You can't just settle for one bad situation. You can't just settle for one bad manager, when you can be another place that would value what you bring to the table and you as a person. So I'm always an advocate of just like, don't settle. And if you keep looking and you keep getting rejected, invest in yourself. Like you're saying, don't just let the job happen to you. What can you bring to the table that company is just like, man, like we can't have this person like not be on our team, not be part of what we're building. And I know like you've been able to carry your personal brand to almost every company that you've gone to, you know? I don't know if you're cool with just talking a little bit about that, like how the impact and the power of just having a personal brand in your career.
Yeah. Having a personal brand, and to your point, man, you really said a powerful thing earlier, is understanding your value, but understanding that what is your value proposition? Like you were talking about, what's your value proposition? Yeah. Like real talk. Like literally, what is your value proposition, right? Because every time you're doing an interview or you're vetting an employer up front, and then they go through this interview process, they're vetting you, you're looking at their value proposition similar to how they're looking at your value proposition.
Exactly.
So you're looking for a fit. For me, man, I think one of the strong things is, personally, I've always understood my value proposition in terms of how I can add value. I'm an innovator. I know tech front to back. I understand business. And more importantly, I could communicate it in a very, very simple way that people understand it, right? That it's actually consumable. And then I could build it too.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like when I'm talking to a company personally, I'm like, I understand this is where I could add value formally. But then, I realized that, well, I have the knowledge. I can just go ahead and build my own company, right? But I think people don't realize that before you even ever have a personal brand, you have to have a mission, as we mentioned, and a purpose.
Yeah.
But also you have to be able to really understand what yours is. Like what do you bring to the table? Because it's one thing to have the knowledge and the expertise or the network, but it's another thing to put it all together and build something of value, or be able to come to a company and say, look at what I've done, look at what I'm doing. How can we work together and have a mutual partnership, because you see my work and I think there's a potential for us to have an abundant relationship.
Yeah.
Right? Like any culture or company that doesn't value talent isn't a company that any talent should be working within. And that's why, even within Guide and the way we're building the organization is we value talent, like people, who are creative, who can build things, who want to build their networks. Like that's the type of people we're actually scouting for as we build. Yeah.
No, you hit it on the head, bro. And which leads me to my next question. Like, you someone who, like, I know, who knows tech, forward and backward, and you know the skills, how the ecosystem works, and now you're building your own company and Guide. Like, I would like you just to go in depth, like, what is Guide? You touched on it in the beginning, but also what are some learning things that you've been learning, like building Guide from the ground up, and I know, a while ago we talked about you having to make a pivot. Like, how did that come about, and like, how should future CEOs, future entrepreneurs who want to create startups, what should they be on the lookout for, especially with this process of you starting Guide?
Yeah. Before I go into this, and thank you for bringing this up, is that as an entrepreneur, always realize you're always learning. As a leader, as an executive, you're always learning. David knows me. I read about a dozen books a week, or as many. I read as much as I can to make sure I'm up to date, even on my knowledge. And I'm a big advocate on learning. And one, we've learned so much in building Guide, and personally, I've learned so much as a leader in building Guide, and realizing that up front, as you build an organization that you want to succeed. There's a difference between a startup and a venture. A startup, okay, I'm always starting something. I always have my hands on a different project. I have multiple starters, even just within my own personal business, right? But a venture, how are you building it to last? And what is the commitments or the values or the principles that you're baking into the organization from day one and over to ensure that it lasts beyond you as an entrepreneur? That's a different mindset, right?
Totally.
And we often talk about startups in the tech ecosystem, but we never really hone in on what does a venture look like? Like, what is the makeup of a venture? How do you lead? How do you show up as a leader in a venture? And for me, I've realized I understand that distinct difference now in building Guide and being a first-time founder, but also someone that's built technology before and has worked with the best tech companies in the world. That you need to have this level of radical conviction and like radical commitment to what you're building, but also understand that every single day is day one. Going back to what we shared, man. Like, you're always learning. Things will happen. A launch, you'll miss a launch. Something will break, but that's a part of the process. And as you know, you and I are fellow creatives, is that if you don't enjoy the process when it sucks,
it's over.
Like, don't expect that you're gonna find fulfillment in the process when you're at the top.
Yeah.
Nah, you gotta love it when it sucks too.
Yeah. You got to. And you
Yeah.
got to find the beauty in that, right?
You gotta find it, man.
In knowing that it's a process and you're building, from the ground up. And like you said, I love that, it's always day one, even when it's good, even when it's bad. Like that's huge. And so what are you hoping that Guide in the next few years accomplishes? Like what is like what is Guide's mission? What is Guide's purpose,
Yeah. So, so once again, Guide is the bite-sized skills training platform for enterprise remote teams. So essentially what we do with Guide is that enterprises onboard their remote workers or new hires on Guide, and they train them using our tool. And really what makes us special is the fact that we do this in a very social first way where, enterprise remote teams can share bite-sized video content internally in their Microsoft Teams or their Slack channel. And really, it's fun. It's a way for them to be able to unlock the culture within their organizations and, using video instead of like using all of these written documents and all of these other tools that they have to do for training. Yeah. And for me, when I think about our long-term vision, we're focused on the enterprise. So there's a billion knowledge workers out there that, want to learn on Guide, right? Or need to learn on Guide, need to train on Guide. And we really want to be able to build this long-term ecosystem and platform that supports them and their organizations. So for us, when I think about our long-term is how are we supporting every single one of those workers to grow in their careers, not only within work, but beyond work as well.
Beyond work, yeah.
Right? Because that's, if you're learning within work, you're learning in a way that can apply to your personal life as well. Yeah. So, we're really building that brand and that business, and that ecosystem to really unlock that potential for people.
No, that's phenomenal, man. Like, that's amazing. And I know, like, you're such a huge advocate of, like, people having life skills, people having even really good social skills, in the work environment. So I believe what you're creating and what it's going to have a huge impact all over the world. Would you say, this is like a side question, from your perspective, because there's not that many, like my sister sent me something the other day about board members from a bunch of companies, and all of them were like non-people of color. It was like few. Like, would you say you being a Black man starting a venture, like, would you feel like you've had a different experience, or like you're learning something different, or like funding wise or whatever? Like, how has that experience been from your perspective as a person of color? Because sometimes I feel like there are more like Black people or people of color who want to start things, but they just feel like maybe they might not get that support or that backing because of maybe limitations or whatever. But do you feel like you've encountered a lot of that, or maybe none of that, or maybe it's just a misconception, or what would you say to that, bro?
Yeah, no. I'm so happy you brought this up because one, I have to recognize my privilege too, even as a Black man, because I've been fortunate. I know people, and I've worked with people at the LinkedIns, at the Microsofts, at the Googles, at the WeWorks, who are either a part of our advisory board or a part of our network, right? So I actually need to recognize my privilege in that regard, and also recognize, though, that it came through work and me being ruthless and gritty, right? But also, one of the things to your point is that I'm learning that as people of color, and me being a minority, owning a minority business owner, right? We've been, since day one, thinking about the integrity and the ethics of our company, right? Of our venture. Our advisory board is filled with people that are of diverse backgrounds, of diverse industries, that aren't just Black. Like, for us, Black is like having a diverse business, and for anyone, having a diverse business isn't just all Black and isn't just all white. It's truly thinking about your business from an inclusive lens. Like, are you thinking about it from a global standpoint? Are you thinking about from an intersectionality standpoint, right? Yeah. And we can already tout that from day one of our venture, right? And you can look at our advisory board, and as we kind of grow and determine what we want our board to look like, we're going to be using the same vetting process and being intentional about it from day one. Yeah. And so this is us from day one, right? Yeah. And I think what concerns me is often that you don't see this level of intent in enterprise organizations. And
Yes.
for us, that's why we're building our company. That's why we're building Guide, because we don't want to look like what most traditional organizations look like and how they built their organizations and their ecosystems. I think for me as a leader, I think about inclusivity every single day. I think about ethics every single day. And if that's because the world that we're building for is multiracial.
Yeah.
It's diverse.
Like
that's facts.
And my thing is like the people who are going to use the product don't look like one person. They don't look like one individual. They don't look like one race. It's multiracial, it's multicultural, it's diverse. And I think like I'm glad that you hit the nail. Is like companies need to start looking at it from that perspective. Like we're not just creating tools for just us, like we need to create tools for everybody. And like we need to have that representation of that, so people know that we care about that.
So man, so my experience as going through the fundraising and all that, because we actively really just started fundraising, is that, I'm thankful that I can show up with competence because I know my stuff.
Yeah.
And I actually haven't really faced any upfront signs of racism. Now, I don't, as you fundraise, you don't know what the conversations are behind back doors.
Yeah.
Like that. But the reality is the fact that, the data does not lie, though, that as a person of color, you are literally, when you are from day one, when you start building your business and your fundraising, is that the odds are against you.
Wow.
For me, but for knowing me and how we operate and how we think, is that, oh, that's great. That's an opportunity, right? That's an opportunity.
We're just getting started.
Let's get started. That's okay. Yeah. But reality is that for some people who aren't as privileged as us, who have been into tech, who understand, who keep track of what's going on, who are competent enough, they don't understand how to push through that barrier.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't understand the lingo. They don't understand how to think about their business. They don't understand the industry, right? They don't understand unit economics. They don't understand how to really vet an investor who can be a potential partner.
Yeah.
Right? So they are systematically disenfranchised from day one. Right. And for me, a part of my, social impact mission, as an individual, but also as, within Guide, is that I believe in education, and a lot of the things that we do is we're always educating people and people who come from underrepresented backgrounds to understand this ecosystem. So they are, if they want to build a business, they can build a business and not feel as if they don't understand that they have knowledge gaps in terms of communicating what their business is about. So, I thankfully have not faced any kind of disenfranchisement or racism and prejudice up front. And, my sole mission, is like, I want to ensure that we completely change the system. So no one ever has to face that, right? Or has to feel as if like the odds are always against my favor, right? So, that's just my mindset. It's our mindset at Guide.
Yeah. And I think I agree with you. I think if more people, have the courage to push through opposition, push through rejection, push through the barriers, and surround yourself with people who will have the knowledge of the things that you don't know, like those things that you're saying, learn how to vet the investors, learn about like what do those, people stand for. I think, there are more diverse ideas, diverse products, diverse companies will rise to the top.
And I think
we just got to keep pushing through.
Yeah, and to your point, I think we're going to see that, man, within the next few years, brother. Like, I think we're really at a pivot point in our society due to COVID, but also partially just due to the fact that people are fed up.
Yeah,
people just
tired,
don't got bro. People are
tired.
People are tired. It's like it makes no sense.
Yeah,
all of these systematic oppressions and racism and all of these things that disenfranchise
microaggressions.
Microaggressions for absolutely no reason. Like there's really no reason for us to be living in that type of world any longer. With all of the opportunities that are available in abundance for everybody. In abundance. For everybody. Right? Yeah. There's like all of these things, and I think systematic oppressions come from a scarcity mindset. So I really believe that we're at a pivot point, and a lot of people are waking up. Leaders in organizations are waking up, and fundamentally, we're thankful that God that we've been operating like this from day one. And we're a service oriented company being that we're focused on B2B and SaaS, and we serve our customers the same way we serve our social impact mission. Like, our heart is in it to win it, to serve the world. And
it's good.
That should be the mindset, right? And to serve a diverse,
world.
multiracial world.
Yeah, no, totally agree, man. And just to, conclude, our talk, bro, like COVID-19 has changed the game for everybody, every industry. And one of the interesting things for me is like learning like the things that I'm seeing. So I'm like, when I'm talking to everyone else on Raw Talks, I'm like, what are some things that you're noticing during COVID-19? What are some things that you're learning? Especially, and I knew you're going to probably have a different perspective, being, a CEO of Guide, and you're learning those things. But what are some other things that, you're noticing? And some of these things we've talked about, I know you're one of the most magnetic people that I know. You love people, you love being around people, and like the effect of COVID-19 has been crazy. So, but like, other than that, what are some things have you been learning and noticing, bro?
Yeah, brother. No, I'm so happy you asked this, man, because we definitely have to talk about this, man, given the state of the world. Mental health is incredibly important, right? Even for me, my social interactions are all virtually nowadays. Man, and I'm thankful. I'm privileged because I have actually a huge online virtual community. I have friends like you. I have people I could communicate with. I'm always checking with. I'm always doing stuff virtually.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that don't even have that, and they don't have physical connection now. So they are mentally struggling. So for me, I've been looking across multiple industries. In fact, I've also been investing across multiple industries in terms of stocks, which is mental health. Mental health is number one. Mental health and telehealth. I think those are booming industries that we should all be paying attention to. And seeing how do we continue to support companies and leaders in those segments, and ensuring the mental welfare of every person in the United States and the world. And also, I've been really, really fascinated by what's going on in e-commerce, as well as autonomous vehicles at a high level.
Wow.
Right. And I'm thinking, and really due to the fact that it's really just going to change the way we have relationships with our cities and our belongings, right? E-commerce now is really focused on subscription-based businesses, right? Direct to consumer, right? And then more importantly, autonomous vehicles now are literally, just the other day, Jeff Bezos just bought a company, really, literally, to invest in the future of what that will look like for e-commerce, to make it more convenient that they ship groceries to your door, right? So we're seeing, and then we've talked about in-home entertainment as well, right? So we're seeing this shift that people are going to be more localized, right? In terms of how things are delivered to them, how they have relationships with their community, and also things are going to be much more, not transactional, but more so relationship based and ephemeral in how we think about belongings, right? So premium quality things are going to matter even more, which is good. But people aren't going to be interested in just having a transaction with businesses. They're going to be interested in a relationship.
So, and an experience.
Right? More than ever, right? So how are you as a business leader, as someone that's interested in starting something, as a creator, investing in creating experiences, building a business predicated on relationships? What are your thoughts on that, man?
No, I completely agree with you. Now, I feel like, we talked about, it's like COVID-19 has just fast-tracked the future, right? And I remember talking to my sister in my interview with her about just the future of work, and how like the future of work, it's probably going to be more remote. And I love that you touched on mental health. And I think mental health is so pivotal now. Like, I've met people, even in Seattle, they're like, I have no roommates, I'm working remotely, and I get all my food delivered to me. So the only human interaction I have is with my delivery person. And I'm like, bro, like, so I think as we continue to like see things, evolve, I see companies investing in mental health, like benefits, mental health, institutions, making sure that it's easy accessible. And I see like more companies, tech companies geared up around that. And I think for me, what I'm interested in seeing is more people of color creating more of those kind of companies, because I was reading a stat about like almost like 90% of the therapists in America are white or not.
That's
people.
a problem.
That's a problem because the
is diverse. The workforce is not just all white people. The workforce is
true.
Hispanic, Asian, Black, from all cultures, from all races. So if we're going to have, mental health, like benefits, we want to talk to therapists either that look like us or have shared those same experiences. And in my first episode, I talked with Chris, like he's a Black man and he has a different perspective when he does therapy with another Black person, not to say like, white therapists won't have the competency, but they just have a different experience. So when someone is talking to him, because he does therapy for like young Black men in the city of Tulsa who are talking about the experiences of being a Black man, he can say, yo, I know what that looks like,
Yeah.
I know how it feels to be pulled over. Like I can speak into that kind of trauma. So it's kind of like how, like, I'm interested in seeing how that evolves in the mental space work. Like, how can we create more spaces where we have more people of color entering that space as well? Because it's pivotal, it's needed. And yeah, like I'm really interested and I'm watching that space closely right now.
Yeah. It's so powerful that you said this, man, because you are making me think about just how much innovation is going to happen in that space of just telehealth and mental health, and how much diverse innovation should happen in that space, because you're absolutely right. And, my dad is a social worker, right? So he's doing a lot of teletherapy now with actually people who are former criminals and helping them, transition back into society and ensure that they don't go back into addiction. And, he is looking at it from a very diverse lens because he's also a pastor and he's also worked with so many diverse multicultural people in the Houston community. So he has a very inclusive lens in how he approaches therapy. And we don't see that same type of practice actually currently right now in the mental health industry. And you're actually seeing solutions pop up to ensure that things are a little bit more diverse, or that people have more control over those benefits in terms of mental health. So, dude, you hit the nail on the head, man. And I think I'm thankful, man, that things are changing, man, because it's horrible. Because I think also when you think about the our Black community, we don't see a lot of Black people in those roles, whether it be mental health and therapy, because we often have our own issues that we're facing, bias that we have when it comes to mental health, right? And it's hard for us to talk about it as males or females or in our community because, we're often supposed to be positioned as okay mentally.
As a strong,
when we need to be able to admit that, no, like there's so many oppressive forces that cause the need for us to be very frank about the mental health issues that our community faces, like, and that oppression is real. That oppression is real. That's not something that is that we're making up or that is made up. That is real. It's psychological, emotional, and it can lead to physical trauma. Right. And, I think that the more we have solutions, technological solutions, and people leading the work around that area, the better. And so that's actually a big investment area for me personally. Mental health, man. It's like so huge.
It's huge. And I'm such a huge advocacy for that right now, especially when we talk about people of color. Like you were saying, like my friend Chris, you were saying like Black don't crack, but we're cracking at the inside. And it's like, bro, that's facts. And we need to learn how to heal, how to move on, and how to deal with our traumas. But before we get into a whole deep dive into that, my last question for you, bro, is I've known you for a little bit, and a lot of people know you. But what is something interesting that people don't know about Tim? Like, what is something interesting people don't know about you?
Yeah, I'm low-key half Japanese. JK. Newsflash. No, so I really love tea. So that's something people don't personally know about me. I really, really love tea. It's one of my favorite things. I love a hot cup of warm tea in the morning and maybe at night before I go to bed. So if you, and I'm actually working on a tea brand that I'm going to be launching soon. That is going to be aligned and integrated with our guide brand. But it's a part of my personal, it's a part of my personal brand. But I love tea that much to a point where I'm actually going to work on a brand for tea.
Wow!
So I love tea. In addition to that, you know, I'm in my one of my favorite poetry books. I have it right here, so for people to check it out. It's called Milk and Honey. Oh man, oh it's black, so it's hard to see.
Yeah,
it's hard to see. Oh wow, that's crazy. Oh wow, this is interesting.
It's all good. It's all good.
Oh,
I'll put it in there.
Yeah. Put it in here. Milk and Honey. By the way, we're using Zoom. That's why that's happening.
Yeah.
Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. And I'm actually a poet. So I do poetry.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, I'm a creative technologist, but a lot of that creative stems from me doing poetry and doing a lot of writing. And, you know, poetry for me is a very soul-warming thing. So if you're really into poetry, please let me know, and we can exchange our poetry notes.
That's dope. Would you ever do like spoken word with your poetry?
Yeah, of course. Okay. I've done spoken word. I've done a lot of spoken word. Yeah, in the past. Yeah.
Nah, man, that's awesome, bro. Thanks for just being open and just sharing those, you know, details and those facts with us. I'm just so grateful to have you on here. Like, one thing I love about you is like you are so laser focused in your mission and what you're trying to create, but you don't do it alone. You care about the people around you. You care about investing in people, you know?
Thank you, my brother.
And like, that you've always exhibited that no matter where you are, like you being the best company, you doing your own thing. If you always had that, and I think so many people can learn from you is that no matter how far you go in your career, and you know, if your purpose is about, you know, also bringing others with you, you will always go further than anyone else because you're bringing others with you on your journey. So I just want to commend you for, you know, being that kind of a person. And I want to say, bro, keep pushing, keep moving forward. And we're so excited about Guide. And I'm excited in whatever you do, bro. So, man, appreciate you, bro. Thanks for being on the episode.
Thank you, brother. I'm so happy to be on Rod Talks.
Yeah, check it out, let's go.
Appreciate you, brother.
Awesome, man. We'll talk soon. Have a good one.
Talk soon, man. Peace.
Right. Bye.